All right, today is Luke chapter 20. That means after today, you only have 4 more chapters in Luke, and you have read through the entire Luke before the birth of Jesus, through the resurrection of Jesus. Congratulations for making it this far. Now in chapter 20, the scribes, the Pharisees, and the Sadducees, those are all the groups. They're all kind of like the Pharisees. They come up to Jesus and they challenge his authority as Jesus is teaching. And so Jesus pretty much owns them. He keeps asking them questions. They ask him a question. He turns it around on them. They're stumped. They're left scratching their heads. Jesus even tells a story, a parable, that is making them look bad, exposing them for who they really are. And throughout the rest of the chapter, these people are trying to trip Jesus up, and Jesus turns it around and trips them up because they're the ones that are trying to undermine God himself. And so Jesus does this throughout the entire chapter. If you keep that in perspective, it's kind of humorous because you're picturing Jesus going hardcore, owning these guys all throughout the chapter. So guys, pause it, read Luke 20. Okay, Luke 20. Jesus is he's talking to the scribes, Pharisees, Sadducees, and at one point they ask him, should we pay taxes? Now, the Jews were not in their own rule. There was not a Jewish king over them that had total authority. There was a king, and he was Herod, but he didn't have total authority. He was more like a governor, like we would know. You got the president and then the governor. Okay, the governor watches over the state. The president watches over all the states. Well, that's kind of what's going on here. You have Caesar, who is like the president, and then the kings, who are like the governors, who are watching over the different people groups. And so these guys come up and they hate the king. They hate the king, but they really hate Caesar because they're mad that Caesar has come in and has taken their country and made them subject to them as a state. And so they try to put Jesus in a difficult position by asking, should we really pay taxes to this guy named Caesar? And Jesus, he has a classic Jesus answer to where he totally answers it, but he answers it in such a way that nobody can give him any back talk. Here's what he says, verse 25. He said to them, then render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. See, right here and also in the book of Romans, the Bible teaches us that it honors God when we are obedient to those in authority over us. Matter of fact, the book of Romans goes one step further and says when we're not obedient to the authority figures that God has put over us in our life, whether that is the government, police, teachers, your parents, whatever it is, any kind of authority, he says that's a sin. So the question has to be asked, would back-talking your teacher be a sin? Would speeding be a sin because you're breaking the law? And that means you are going against the authority that God has put over you. It's a good question. And the Bible's pretty clear that, speeding is a sin because you are you are actually rebelling against the authority that God has put over you. In Romans, God says that God has put governments in place in order to keep the world safe. And so, guys, when we rebel in any way that breaks the law or breaks the law like at schools, hey, it's a sin because you're disobeying God by not respecting the authority He's put over your life. So guys, hey, think about it. What are you doing that you might not have even known before right now that it was a sin? And how can you avoid that today?